Welcome to My Wild Magic with me, your host, Adrienne Cobb. Join me on a journey back home to your truest self in this inspiring, enlightening, and entertaining show. After a near-death experience in a car crash at 15 years old, I made a choice to stay and brought back with me 3 simple truths that I found from the other side. Love is all there is. Our time is over here quicker than we think, and we all have a purpose, a soul blueprint to fulfill. On this show, you will find a higher purpose, a creative expression, and unique soul attributes that you can bring. Adrienne Cobb, and today we have on the show Baljit Rayat. We had her on last week as well, talking about sacred geometry for the soul, soul blueprint, some of the other work she does. So if you didn't catch that episode, go back and you can check out the recording of that one. Today, though, where we had left off was on conscious DJing. It just had so much amazing expanded energy to it. I wanted to bring her back on today to go a little bit into the conscious DJing, what goes on with that, how music affects us. So Baljit, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, so soon.
Yeah.
We just have you on every week.
Yeah. Hey.
So, okay, so conscious DJing. I had not really heard that term. I mean, I know I'm really attracted to conscious DJs now that you've kind of pointed it out, but what is a conscious DJ for anybody who may not know?
Yeah, the conscious DJ is someone who really thinks about the consciousness and the certain levels of consciousness and within music. So being aware, having a certain level of awareness of what they're bringing forth when it comes to sharing their own music and the intentions of it. Because sometimes there are artists that will just create music for the sake of it, but aren't exactly conscious and aware of what the intentions are when they put out the frequency, that like the music itself. And sometimes you can subconsciously create things with different intentions unknowingly if your vibration's just on a lower state. And so when you're listening to a song, you may feel sad and be like, oh, I don't feel so great, even though the song's like really popular maybe, but you always feel off every time you listen to it. So music has frequency and it holds a certain level of consciousness. And how this was actually brought to me was years ago, back in 2010. I was actually dating someone and he called himself the conscious DJ, and he had taught me how to DJ at the beginning. And then I was self-taught and went to DJ school years afterwards. And he introduced me to Dr. David Hawkins, Power versus Force, the book. I didn't read the whole thing, so it's like a library. It's like like an encyclopedia almost. But he has a map of consciousness that shows the different level of consciousness. So anything that is 200 above, like if you pass courage, it increases your vibration, where anything under 200, like jealousy, anger, are more destructive energies. So your vibration drops. So what I used to do with my former boyfriend at the time, we would calibrate and test different songs. So I would do it intuitively with my own guides, and he would do it through muscle testing with his fingers, and we would get the same numbers. So that's how I would choose different songs for DJing. I would actually pick intentionally which song that's going to lift people up and take them on a journey. And then through that, just created my own system, also using, the sacred geometry that we talked about last week, and fusing that together to give it a full level of frequency, a variety of frequencies for people.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah. And for the David Hawkins scale, which might be a common term to some people, looking at your emotional resonance. Another one that kind of talks about it a little bit is in the Abraham Hicks work. Esther Hicks, she also talks a lot about emotional resonance. And, if you can get into, also Greg Braden talks a lot about it. Heart Math talks a lot about it. Christy Marie Sheldon talks a lot about it. So there's some other people out there that maybe you would be aware of that you could do a little more research on that. even just for yourself and how you're feeling and checking that out. Yeah. I mean, I know that music affects me, greatly. As a matter of fact, I'm in this phase right now where, because I'm working on shifting consciousness into this new world energy and just out of my past, I just will not listen to the radio. Like, I don't want to listen to any songs, anything from like, like the 80s, the 90s, anything that I'm so emotional that when I am in a relationship, I want to listen to that song because it makes me so high. Or maybe I go running and I do it. Or if I go through a breakup, that's the song. And I process a lot of my emotions. So now I can't handle hearing almost any music unless I've never heard it before. If I've never heard it
Wow.
before, I'm creating a new emotional thing. Anything from the past, like if I'm at a restaurant or something, I'm like, I almost just have to get up and leave. Like, it is so annoying to me. The
Wow.
elevator, the store. Yeah.
That's
Just,
so fascinating. So it's kind of like,
it's an anchor. That
yeah,
music is an anchor.
yeah. And
Whatever was the
you're
intensity
so
of that
done with the
emotion.
past. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is a big deal. So I really liked, Baljit shared some music with me earlier, and we're going to listen to it towards the end of this podcast. So stay tuned to that. But, one reason I really liked it, because I never heard it before. I'm like, oh, I can totally groove on this all day long and not have any old emotions come up about it. This works for me.
Yeah, and I wanted to create the sets, and it was just wild how it all happened. I was actually in Vipassana meditation back in 2016. It was like my first Vipassana, and I actually had a big vision of, I was like, coming out of it, I was like, oh, I'm going to do podcasts. And I thought I was going to do it myself, but then I actually got invited by this gentleman from Spain. He had his own big DJ podcast, and he listened to one of my sets. I only had like a few DJ sets on my SoundCloud, very little followers. And he was like, can you do a set for me? And I said, sure. And then I started to apply everything that I had learned over the years, and did that for him. And because it was displayed on his podcast, I then started getting other curators for their podcasts just around the world, asking for sets. So it's been a joy of like creating different DJ sets that take people on a journey, and whether they're driving or they're walking or they're working and they feel like they really need to move energy. And I work a lot with the sacral fire, working with the creative energy, just clearing out the energetic blocks, while people are just listening to it. So it just gives them a boost of inspiration. And maybe they just need to have a little dance party inside their room or wherever. I've had people just play it when they're out skiing, or letters for people that are like, I had to listen to it 4 times to just get through my day. It helped when I was traveling and whatnot. So yeah.
Yeah, I am so down with that, especially when I'm traveling. I really just like kind of going into my own little world there and just, staying in my lane. And,
Yeah,
it's really
totally. I'm
nice
the
to
same.
have that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so then, so people can access you, and I don't know if the producer can throw this up on screen, all the different ways that they can contact Baljit. But Baljit, you do have a SoundCloud account. And what is your SoundCloud account, in case people are listening now and are wanting to check it out?
Yeah, the SoundCloud is under DJ Antakarana. So ANTAH and then KARANA. Or you can go to the website Antakarana. So it's Anta, so ANTAH dash KARNA.com.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. And and so I would highly recommend that. It seems like you have some really cool stuff on there. And so do people download that? Like, do they kind of purchase and download, or
Yeah, you won't need to purchase it. A lot of so I have different playlists that come from other different podcasts that have hosted me. And for some of them, you can do free download of like the whole set. And then some, they don't do downloads. It really varies with each podcast curator that I've done sets for. And at the moment, I'm actually learning how to make my own music. So hopefully I'll have something released by the end of this year. So I've just been working on some stuff to create my own music and add those into the sets as well.
There you go. Now you're talking, because I
Yeah.
love what you're saying, because I do in my work, I do a lot of work with the sacred fire flame of the great central sun, great central angel, sacred fire flame. I'm a big proponent of the sacred fire in terms of moving energy. And it just clears so much out of the system, but it also causes an expansion. So the fact that when you even, it sounds like you're taking right now, other works of other DJs that you that you intuitively feel or muscle test that have a high vibe or a certain thing on the David Hawkins scale, you start mixing those together as a DJ. But then at the same time, you're also doing sacred fire energy in terms of imbuing that energy into this particular unique set that you create, that then goes out to whatever event or listener that might be listening to it. So it's not only got conscious DJing music, but it's also got your blessing of like this sacred fire, merged, mixed with it. That is so neat.
Thank you. Yeah, and I've kind of stopped using the like the David R. Hawkins like level of consciousness in a level, because now it just comes like very intuitively, where I feel it out and I'll just intuitively know if my energy drops when I listen to the song, or if it's going to lift someone up, and is it going to be part of the journey that people need. And sometimes there are vocals of like a sentence that someone needs to hear that just boost up their energy field and be like, yeah, I'm going to reclaim my power back, or just something that's going to boost their energy field. So yeah, there's more sacral fire for sure.
That is good. I know, I think it was maybe in the Mozart Effect, the book, The Mozart Effect.
Yeah.
It talks about, sound healing and how the sound, even like if you're in a hotel and maybe the laundry room is here and your body's unconsciously picking up, these vibrations, it has this effect that it can actually affect the organs of your body and your nervous system and be kind of irritating for people who are very audible sensitive, or their light body is very sensitive. Because I think for sound, your light body is really very wired for that. That particular frequency, light and sound, is kind of how the whole universe is sort of created, right?
Yeah.
On that level. So you're, in a way, it sounds like conscious DJing is accessing, in a sense, light, sound frequencies, especially messed with the sacred geometry that you do. But it's primal. It's our whole beingness as a vibrational being.
Yeah.
Is very affected by the work you're doing. So what do you notice about that effect with people?
Well, it definitely is working with one's light body for sure. When I send out the intentional DJ sets, I usually send them out through my newsletter, and I ask that people set an intention with what they would like to receive and heal, and whatever it is that they want to manifest. And I've done that with myself right before I listen to the set, so that I enter the space with intention. And I always believe energy follows intent. So it just adds to the resonance of the DJ set. And it's been really profound. Everyone just varies. For myself personally, that's how more of the sexual sovereignty piece came in, because it helped me clear some energy that I needed to clear for myself, for my own vehicle, for my body physically as well. For other people as well, a lot of them really needed, especially during these times in the last few years, the mental body was completely bombarded. So just listening to a set actually gave them a peace of mind and helped to release a lot of clutter, a lot of implants, because I did some pretty massive intentions to clear any negative alien implants and
hang on to that concept. We're just going to take a quick break. We'll be right back and pick right up with alien implants. Wait to keep having this conversation. So Baljit, so we just left off with alien implants and stuff like that, and how during the being at home, maybe whether it's, so how do you think the alien implants kind of affect people? Like what were you noticing with your music with that, or other darker energies, or whatever that happens with people stuck at home by themselves or with their family?
Totally. Well, again, alien implants can come from anywhere. Like negative alien implants don't necessarily mean that they come from actual aliens. It's just foreign energies that are non-earth bound, and they have their own agenda and intentions for whatever reason.
So
Usually
that could be entities, that could
entities,
be portals that
yep,
people connect through,
negative spiritual
spirits.
presence. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Could it also be like energy sort of moving through the universe that may also be kind of unqualified, like a cosmic, or like some, usually those are higher frequencies and we want to download cosmic downloads, galactic star transmissions,
Yeah.
but sometimes they are not, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Very
So basically any kind of
malevolent.
foreign energy that doesn't
Yeah.
have a higher vibration is what you're considering an alien implant, not to cast judgment on aliens in general, but
No,
just
I love aliens. Like
all
I'm
right.
yeah. They're
Okay,
like
got
my
it.
homeboys. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
But what happens is, because when one is in a really low vibrational state, let's just say someone's going through
Fear,
depression, right? Or they're
illness.
experiencing a lot of grief or anger, the vibration drops. And so that person becomes more susceptible to attract energies that are not of the highest light. And because of that, how if you have an implant is you just don't feel like yourself. You feel disconnected. You might feel a little disjointed.
Also, maybe an organ might be
Yeah,
holding it, or like an illness or a stomach ache or constant headaches that you can't quite place. There's no good reason for.
exactly. Or you feel
Anxiety.
emotions that are not yours. So you're just kind of like, So what the intentions with the DJ sets too is to take one's frequency to a higher level to help them remove any negative alien implants, and any kind of implants. I mean, implants can also come from our past, from parental programming as well, right? So a lot to do with mind control implants, and things can get also implanted thoughts, implanted.
Well, also maybe in doctrines such
Mhm.
as military, I find sometimes have a very strong, like I've known some people kind of going through some military, and sometimes there's a very strong, like, decompose the energy so that you can rebuild it in a mindset that you need to go do whatever that military needs to do. Or religion, or politics, or there's probably a lot of ways now that you're talking about it that.
Yeah, they come from so many places, right?
Wow, I'm
And
feeling very vulnerable right now, Baljit, about what's going on. I wonder also about, now that I'm thinking about it, as you got on this track, is TV radio waves, electrical waves, EMF fields, 5G type stuff. I'm assuming, I just know that from that kind of work, you can send out vibrational thought forms in a positive way or a negative way. So basically, coming back to the conscious DJing, then you sort of, it's almost like I kind of get this image of just a shower of music washing over me with the sacred fire and kind of washing out some of that energy. Is that?
Yeah.
A little bit more about how healing conscious DJing can be then with this sort of thing.
Exactly. And it's also like, you could have watched a show. I remember I was watching Euphoria, and I finished watching the entire series, but the second season started off pretty dark, and I was like, whew, I'm like, I need to do some clearing on myself. So I would just stick on a DJ set and just play some music, wash the dishes and stuff like that, just to shift the frequency of the mindset and the energy that I was exposed to. Because you kind of, when you watch TV and stuff, you do go into the energy of that.
Yes. I'm telling you, because my my roommate right now, they like to watch some of the murder shows, and
I can't do it.
how they catch them and what happens. And I'll be walking through the room sometimes, and I'll be like, oh my God, this person did what? And then they got away with it. And what is going on with this world? Like, it's just unbelievable what happens. And for them, it's very informational and it teaches them something. But yeah, for me, I just like, oh no, or a horror film. I mean, you just might as well be in a closet for days if you put on a horror film. Yeah.
I'll just have nightmares. But yeah, it's It's definitely, it can be used for anything. And I mean, it's really um, custom for that certain person, for each individual, for whatever it is that they actually
So
need.
hang on a second. So what you're saying is you actually, so you're not just doing this for events. You're willing, like if somebody gets in touch with you, make a conscious DJing soundtrack kind of just for them individually if they get in touch with you. Is that kind of what
Oh
you're?
no, not yet. Not that. Not
Okay,
yet. That'll be
because
for
I'm
the
seeing a
future.
whole feature
Yeah,
here that
yeah,
could be
yeah.
very, very awesome.
When someone listens to a DJ set just off the SoundCloud, like with their personal intentions, that'll work with their energy field for their intentions. So my intention is just to be a clear conduit with this DJ set to provide the highest frequency for that person, whatever it is that they need. But for each person listening to the DJ set, everyone's going to have different intentions. And like I said at the beginning, energy follows intent. So for one person, maybe they want to attract another partner in their life or whatever. And so they're clearing more of the heart stuff and maybe mental body stuff, where someone else wants to download like a new program or they feel inspired to take a new course and they're going to receive transmissions for that. So it's
Or
really,
like self-esteem
yeah,
or some kind of spiritual or emotional quality,
yeah, yeah.
abundance.
Mhm,
Yeah, it's another good one.
mhm.
Yeah.
So it's just getting people to understand, like when you're in this high level of frequency, you are able to really play in that energy and be like, okay, what is it that I want to create now that I'm, boosting my energy field up? What is it that I would like to call in? What is it that I would like to create? And maybe I just want to relax and just chill out. It's really it's really different for everyone else. Yeah.
Yeah. So then when you do it for events, so basically an individual can benefit from whatever set that might be on your SoundCloud or whatever conscious they might be working with. Okay. So, but let's say they have an event, like they have a wedding. Like I would love to have conscious DJing at a wedding, you know what I mean? Or even maybe a wake of some sort, if somebody has passed and sort of like
Yeah.
letting go. Or yeah, what are some ideas? Like there's raves and there's ecstatic dance. Like I just sort of think conscious DJing in terms of the clubs. I think of it in terms of European clubs and raves and ecstatic dance. But it sounds like it's a much broader field that people could bring the work you are willing to do into their personal life. So
Mhm.
examples of that.
Well, great question, because I have done events and have played at some festivals as well. And I actually come from the rave culture. So that's how it all began. Like I used to go to raves way back in the days.
I have
And
never been to one. I always
oh,
wanted to go to
I
one.
went to
Maybe
like
I'll have to
the
like
outdoor.
come up and
Yeah.
yeah.
I went to the old school ones where you would like look at a map to go to the actual destination. And that's when I got to understand the experience. So this is why I'm doing conscious DJing. Because when I went to the raves back then, of course, heavy drugs were involved. Not everyone was using it, but you're just outdoors or in some underground space and everyone is just connecting. Like it didn't really matter how you looked and whatever, everyone just wanted to connect with the DJ and they wanted to dance. But because there was other energetics involved, I noticed how
Like the drugs.
yeah,
And that's why I've never actually gone, because
yeah,
it just is,
yeah,
especially with my intuition, it's just a little bit
yeah,
too ghoulish for me and all the different things that you see in
yeah,
all the entities. Like it's just, oh, it's just a
yeah.
little
So
bit too.
you invite entities in,
Yeah.
right?
And I don't normally go just because of
Yeah,
that. But if it was
yeah,
conscious and it was a little bit cleaner, I
yeah.
would love to go.
So I've actually done 3 events in Vancouver, BC at the planetarium and the Star Dome.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So we've done the star activations, the sacred geometry, and the dome, and done a couple with Derek Bowman. He
Yeah.
curated
Love there.
some beautiful soundscapes with his own music that he
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think he's done
Yeah.
anything as of late, but he's very talented. And so yeah, we curated the events together, and I led a star activation healing. So it was like a ambient electronic music with the star activations, and everyone would just walk out being like, I don't know what just happened, but I
Totally
feel,
illumined, because
yeah.
it sounds like you're also affecting the chakra system through sound
Mhm.
vibration. If you go into
Yeah.
the higher chakra systems, you're going to awaken that in a
Yeah.
sense. And yeah, so when I went to New York a few years ago, I was looking at Airbnb experiences, just while I was
Yeah.
there, and one of them was it was a dance thing, but everybody had on headphones. So you were with
Mhm.
people, but it was completely individual.
Silent
You got to
disco.
listen to
Yeah.
any music you wanted to listen to, but yet you're in a room with a bunch of other people dancing, but the room is totally quiet because
Yeah.
you only are hearing what
I
you
love that.
hear, the sound you want to hear.
Yeah.
I guess as your work would go over amazing with conscious DJing, where everybody gets to have their own, and I think a lot of people with overloaded, especially a lot of star being people, and overloaded and emotions, like just even if we were all listening to the same thing, but had on headphones, could be
Yeah.
so cool. So we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back in a moment to explore conscious DJing a little bit further. Back, and I am just like so jazzed up about this. So Baljit and I were just talking during the break. I do teach Vision Quest twice a year. I do an Equinox Quest in March, again in September, a 21-day one. You can go onto my website, mywildmagic.com. Again, that's mywildmagic.com, and take a look at that. But we're going to have Baljit be a part of doing some conscious DJing for the next the next Vision Quest that we're going to be doing there, because it's going to, just in terms of everything you've been talking about, it would be so perfect to have music amplify anything. And so I'm assuming even with other healers that may be out there that teach retreats and workshops and meditations and stuff, that you're conscious DJing, that you could really find sets that you do for people,
Yeah. Yeah. I've
for
had a lot of requests
healers.
for that. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Sometimes I've had a few requests to do like a couple of sets to just help them with their program, just to help with their students and whatnot. So yeah, it really depends. And it's been a joy.
okay, and can you tell people again the best way to get in touch with you if they wanted to contact you about conscious DJing?
Yeah, so if you can contact me at Baljit, Baljit at Anta, ANTAH dash Karana, KARANA.com. And that's also on my website as well. Just send me an email. And if you can't find me there, you can also contact me under baljitrayat.com as well, and just contact me through there.
Yeah, and that'll be
Or even my SoundCloud.
yeah,
Yeah.
BALJITRAYAN.com. Baljit Ryan.
RAYAT at.
Thank you. Kind of a little confused. And if the producer could flash that up, her contact information, that would be
I
awesome.
know. I'm like, did I spell it right? Yeah.
I know, right. I'm so into music and sound frequencies. Who cares about letters?
I know.
We're into
Letters, we don't need
numbers and
those.
sounds. So yeah, so the guy who wrote the Mozart Effect. I was in the military, that's right. So he did this whole study, and he's like, there was this, what he really was touched by is that there was this man who was an excellent pianist, and the pianist would play the same song over and over to different groups. On some nights he would play and it would bring the audience to tears, and they would be so in emotion and so grateful and so touched. On some nights they're like, whatever, it was nice. And he couldn't understand the difference. And so they started really looking at that deeply. And he thought on certain nights, he played from the depth of his soul. He played with emotion, and those emotions would come through the intention of his fingers and into the music. He was same notes, same song, but the intention was everything. And so he really learned to do that. And that's, I think, a lot of higher spiritual studies, really talk about our intention. So it sounds like you're bringing intention, taking other people's music, mixing it together, and hopefully making your own pretty soon, of really bringing that sacred fire in as intentional and intention. So can you talk to us a little bit about intention, and just, you mentioned a little about your intention, but just intention with music and sound frequencies?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a difference between being a conduit versus performing. And sometimes when you're performing, and without intention, it can go into the subconscious. And so and meaning the subconscious realm, your subconscious thoughts or feelings start to play out. So maybe, a piano player had a really long day, and before they perform, they're like, oh man, I got to do this. I don't feel like doing this. But I'm just going to go ahead because I know I'll rock it. And so they go in, but that intention with their energy is very just like, meh, I don't feel like performing, and they're just doing it, and then people will pick up on it. And like, it's so easy to pick up on that. And I usually experience that with DJs, especially when I used to watch a lot of live sets from DJs just around the world. And because of the traveling can make one DJ just super exhausted. And if they're not well rested before, DJing, you can actually really feel it. It doesn't really matter if they play an amazing set or not, because their energy will emanate through the music and the mood of the crowd. So that's the part of being a conscious DJ, and is having a certain level of awareness of how do I want to show up, and calling that in and being present to that. And then from there, you can actually feel connected to the crowd. You can feel connected to everyone. And that's how you are a conduit. It's like if you're doing a session on a client, you don't just go in and perform and be like, oh, I'll just do this activation.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, totally.
Bring the rays of light in, whatever, or else your client's going to be like, I didn't feel anything.
You're like, or even worse yet, it's like, what in the world is that alien attachment doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. It's like, you have to be mindful, because you don't want your audience to feel like they got vomited on, right? You want for them to feel an experience is just, and it doesn't need to be like a whole thing of setting intentions, saging, and it can be just very just simple, and just being like, I intend to just show up and be grounded, and just allow me to be a clear conduit when I create this song, or when I play this instrument for this person, or when I'm doing a session, and allow it to be more than what I could have ever asked for, allow it to be graceful, allow it to be easy and just joyful. So when you intend that, you create that frequency. And what's so cool is that wherever you go, when you've set that intention, that frequency matches it. And so whoever is not able to show up, maybe at your event, because they are not ready to shift something and they're unwilling to shift, they won't show up at the event. They'll be like, oh, I don't feel so well, I'm not going to be there. And that's great, because collectively, whoever needs to be there that are ready to shift will rise up.
Yeah, that's really very, very beautiful. Yeah. So definitely stay tuned, because the last segment we're going to be playing, the last segment will be all of Baljit's conscious DJing download that she has got. Yeah. So you'll get to hear a little bit of that. Yeah. So anything else that you want to share with that? Like, it seems as though, like, even as you just went through that whole thing, my whole energy just totally shifted. Like something just came in, and just like, it feels like there's a whole download that just came in with whatever you were talking about, like whatever beings and energies. It's just like, downloaded. So if everybody just takes a moment, just kind of breathe deep for a moment, just breathe in and breathe out, just get connected to yourself. Notice if there's any deeper feelings, any clarity, any just being in your presence right now with that. Because that was pretty deep. It wasn't even what you were saying. It was the energy that came through just immediately. I think you're so gifted at probably channeling that sacred fire energy in the beings that you work with, that even just talking about it brought in a whole whatever.
Yeah, I just felt them come in.
Yeah.
And people can check out my YouTube as well under DJ Anta Karana. That will have the soul blueprints, the sacred geometry visuals, along with a few DJ sets that I've combined with them. So if you can play it off your TV, your laptop, you will feel that frequency.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah. I'm going to subscribe to you as soon as we get off of this call. Cause I usually start my morning doing the Tibetan 5 rites, a little bit of yoga, my meditation, and even kitty TV, but it'll be either kitty TV or going through the solfeggio
Oh
frequencies,
yeah.
stuff like that. So I would love to have yours. Cause it sounds like what you're doing, if you go to your YouTube station, that you're doing the conscious DJing, but you also have some sacred geometry built into it. So you're getting the sacred geometry. Because Dr. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about when you want to manifest and create something, to use a visual that opens up the pineal gland, which sacred geometry does, and then you add a music that's uplifting to you on whatever level. And so whatever you're visualizing and thinking and preparing for your day, it sends out a vibration. It just blesses your day with that love or above frequency
Yeah.
through your whole day. So to start your morning or even to go to sleep with it is really, really nice, because then you're kind of allowing your whole dream time to be affected. So before you go to bed, as you wake up, these are great times, it sounds like, to work with stuff, or really any time, honestly. So I'm going to
Pretty much.
subscribe to you
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, get it subscribed.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm the same. I'm pretty slow in the mornings, so I like to listen to some very ambient music. So I'll even go on YouTube and play some, 432 hertz
Yeah,
relaxation.
exactly.
Just
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Okay. Now I heard something about the hertz, right? So one was that there's the 432 hertz, which I think is the actual one that's in the series of the chakra system. There's
Yeah.
also a 417. And I've heard that
Yeah.
sometimes a 417 maybe carries maybe a lesser, but
Yeah. I've
what do you know about that? Because
dabbled a bit, with 528 and 432, which is like the heart chakra.
yeah,
But to be honest, I've noticed some people will say it's 432 or 528 or whatever, but I don't actually feel the frequency. So depending on how they matched it up and how it translated when they uploaded to YouTube, um, I'll know if there's not this frequency where I feel like joyful or relaxed.
there you go.
So instead of using those numbers specifically, I've just used my intuition just to open up the horizon than strictly keeping it at 432 hertz. Or I've listened to 417 and I'm like, um I just listen to my intuition of like what feels good. And for those that are watching and listening, same thing. It's like, does it feel good? Do you feel relaxed? Do you feel at peace? And you can kind of sense the frequency as
Like
well.
acid rock, for instance, that one just makes
Yeah.
me jump off a bridge 10 times over. I mean, that one just scrambles my brain. Cannot do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
yeah, something like what we're talking about. That would be really
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very, very helpful. Yeah. So you also, Baljit, we're kind of coming to a close before we put the music on. So you also do the sacred, in case anybody missed the podcast last week, tell us a little bit about the other programs you do before we come to a close.
Yeah, so I have a program called Reclaiming Sexual Sovereignty. So, really working with sexual energy and bridging that with one's purpose and their gifts and talents. And then I do customized soul blueprints, which are sacred geometric images that send frequency to help you align to your purpose and your gifts as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So again, you can check any of the work that Baljit does at baljitrayat.com, BALJITRAYAT.com.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm assuming people can find most everything you do on that website. They can branch off to anything else if
And the
that's
music links to that too. So,
music links, yeah, the YouTube video, SoundCloud, all that. Yeah. And yeah, so I am super excited to continue working with you. We hope to have you into the September quest. You can also check more out about the quest or a free quiz on your tribe of light at mywildmagic.com. And we are coming to a close here. So I hope you enjoy the beautiful music of conscious DJing that Baljit has shared with us today, and hope to see you next week.
Let's suppose that you were able every night to dream any dream you wanted to dream. And that you could, for example, have the power within one night to dream 75 years of time. Or any length of time you wanted to have. And you would naturally, as you began on this adventure of dreams, you would fulfill all your wishes. You would have every kind of pleasure you could conceive. And after several nights of 75 years of total pleasure each, finally you would dream where you are now.